Welcome to the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite provides you with all the resources you need to become a successful author. You can learn more about Authors Unite and join the free community at authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today I have Sebastian Boyer with us, aka the Approved Guy. He's an expert in business financing, and he's coming to you from South Florida. So welcome to the show, Sebastian.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you for having me on the show.
Of course. Thanks for joining us, and we'll dive in. The first question that I have for you is, what's the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Well, I was raised by a single mom, and though I knew my dad and he was a good person, he was kind of an absent father. So in my younger years, I was always seeking approval from other people, friends, teachers, coaches. And mostly I was blessed with positive reinforcement. But I had one coach in my teens tell me that I was a jack of all trades and a master of none. Now, he didn't know, that he was harming me. I really believe he was trying to help, or somehow he was being positive. But it really messed with my head. And for the next 20 years of my life, I didn't believe I was good enough or worthy enough to be successful. So I believed the lie, and I fell into accepting mediocrity. And until recently, in the past 2 or 3 years, I started to understand that I'm a child of God who loves me and created me uniquely with gifts and talents, and that I am approved by him to achieve greatness, regardless of what other people say or have or think. So the most valuable message in my life is just that we are all children of God, and we all have unique gifts and talents, and we are each individually created by him for a purpose, and we are approved by God to achieve greatness.
And what is the most valuable piece of information that we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
The most valuable piece of information would really be that, it's very important for you to understand your credit. Understanding credit may be one of the most important lessons that you can learn to take control of your personal and business finances. A person who can really understand and become a master of using credit will always save money, will always be able to take advantage of all types of perks and benefits that credit can offer if it's utilized properly. But there is a disclaimer to that, and that is credit is not for you if you have no self-control.
And just to dive in a little bit on that, do you have any resources or do you recommend what's the best way for us or the audience to learn more about that?
Well, you can visit my website, theapprovedguy.com, and I offer a free consultation to learn more about credit, and
Awesome.
I offer education on that. But a great resource just to kind of look at your credit situation and understanding there's personal and business credit. But one great resource, and it's creditchecktotal.com. It's owned by Experian, and they give you a free credit. It's really $1 for 7 days. But all 3 credit bureaus, FICO 8 model. And a lot of good analysis of credit. But if you've never looked at it, it could be a bit confusing. And that's where, I can come in to help with some clarification.
Awesome. Thank you. And what is your best piece of overall business advice? So not necessarily industry specific.
Sure. I mean, overall, it's really just don't just wing it. I talk to a lot of business owners who are just winging it. They don't have a business plan. They have no projection of return on investment. They don't have any real preliminary education on various dynamics of their business. Take the time to research and educate yourself on all aspects of your business. You don't have to be an expert in everything, but it's good to know just a little bit of everything. Take a course or a seminar on marketing before you hire a marketing company. This alleviates a marketing company or quote unquote expert taking advantage of you if you have some preliminary background. Saves you a lot of time and money and frustration versus, wasting time and money.
And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Education doesn't always translate just in going to college. When I was younger, that's, what I believe. And college has great value depending on what your career path and choices. But you can get education and become an expert in many areas that can earn you a lot of money in life by learning from an expert or a mentor. So my advice is really to find an expert or someone who is doing and has what you want in life, and figure out how to become their student. Figure out how to make them your mentor.
And in your opinion, what's the key to happiness?
In my opinion, the key to happiness is having a real, genuine relationship with God. In my experience, when I put God first, I'm obedient to his word, what the Bible says, happiness finds me. I don't have to look for happiness or find it. And so does success, health, peace, and everything else that's good in life.
And what's the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
One of the best books, but I'll put this one at the top, is The Power of Your Mind by Chris Oyakilome. It's a hard name, Chris Oyakilome. The number one thing I learned is that whatever image you rehearse in your mind and whatever words you let come out of your mouth will eventually become your reality.
And what's your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is by a rapper named Talib Kweli. It's from one of his songs, and it goes, "These cats drink champagne and toast to death and pain like slaves on a ship, talking about who got the flyest chain." It speaks to the reality of the world we live in and the backward principles that society lives by and holds high in terms of values, which really end up being a form of mental or spiritual bondage.
Thank you so much for coming on, man. The last question I have for you before we let you go is, where's the best place for people to find you online?
You can find me on my website, theapprovedguy.com, or on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at The Approved Guy.
Perfect, man. Thank you again for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tyler. Appreciate you. Have a great day, man.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.